Another day, another FPL pod. Jack, how are you?
Josh, good, thanks. Yeah, good to be back. Excited to talk about another game week gone by and what's going on in the world of FPL. Yeah, bit bummed out. It's the international break again, as always. These kind of Monday, Tuesday after the game week, just the start of the break, are killer, aren't they? I find.
Way too much time for reflection. We don't need that much time to look
Yeah.
back on our mistakes.
Exactly. Yeah. I find the first week is a drag. And then the next, once you get through the weekend and you realize there's other things to do with your life other than FPL, you kind of have a happy week and then boom, game week 8.
Get reeled in.
Is amongst us. Yeah.
Very quickly.
But yeah, you all good?
All great. Yeah, great here. I mean, I guess a disclaimer to everyone out there. I will say it for you, Jack. Got a little bit of a cold. If you're feeling nasally. So on Twitter, on the comments, send Jack your love, guys.
Please do, yeah. All love welcome for me to get better. And if my voice goes halfway through the pod, then here we are. So be it half a pod to listen to.
Exactly. Hopefully it doesn't come to that. But
Josh waffling for half an hour after.
So yeah, no one wants that.
I'm kind of curious to see how that would go, actually. I might fake it. Josh, what have we got? What's the lineup looking like for today's pod?
So we've got a bit of a structure now, as you said last time. We're gonna start by looking at game week 7, how we got on. Then we're to go on to the XG and XA top performers. And we've got some talking points, or one particular one this week. Then we're going to look at our predictions for game week 8. And then we're going to talk about our plans and captaincies. And then, of course, come round and look at those algo teams.
Yep, as you said, we've got this nice structure now. Seems to be going well. But if you've got any ideas for features that you'd like us to include, then do let us know. And equally, if you hate one of these features, also let us know. Probably more likely to get feedback on that. Yeah, do let us know. Ever changing, ever malleable, but always fun, isn't it, Josh? This pod.
Yeah,
enjoying it.
Populous. Whatever you want us to do, we'll do.
Yeah, we'll bend to the will of the masses. Right.
Exactly.
Right. Last week's pod was too long, Josh. So let's crack on. Elephant in the room. It was a horrendous game week, wasn't it? For most people, I would say game week 7. We thought game week 6 was bad. 7 was real bad. Shall I go first? I think you went first last week. Should we keep alternating unless you want to get it out the way?
Please go. You go. I don't really want to talk about mine, so please take the limelight. Over to you, Jack.
Okay. Well, I ended on 42 points, which in isolation, not a great score. In this game week, I was more than pleased, though. I'll say that. So I think the average was 38. If you finish above the average, I don't think you can ever really complain. So I'd captained Antonio. Going against the grain a little bit, I think Lukaku was the most popular and Ronaldo as well. So when those two blanked early doors, I was it was a thigh rubber waiting for the West Ham game. He, of course, blanked like the rest of them did. And then Salah just let us know why we should never deviate from him in the last game of the game week and got me my highest score of 13 points. So yeah, so blanks from Reguilon, Cody, Traore again. We'll talk about that prick. Jota blank, Rafinha blank, Lukaku blank, Dennis blank, with only the real highlights being Salah and the Brighton boys of Duffy and Sanchez. Yeah, really, really saving my skin. But yeah, Livramento again benched with points on the bench. So I think I'll be bringing him in next week. He's earned his place in the reserves, if you like. He's earned his starting berth for game week 8, which is obviously a long way away. But yeah, very underwhelming. But again, one of those weeks where it's okay to get a low score because the majority, 38 as an average is incredibly low. So yeah, here we are. I'm not too bummed out, not ecstatic either. Still an overall rank of about 2.5 mil. Haven't really moved in the last few weeks. Not the best, but feeling positive about making it better.
Yeah, I think there's, like you said, you're above the average. And I think looking at the team there, and I think this is the case for a lot of people, there's a lot of players that were very unlucky to not get hauls, I think. Lukaku had a massive chance himself, probably should have got an assist. And, there's that is the kind of story for a lot of the popular picks this week, isn't there?
Yeah, that Lukaku one, I think, bounced off the post and then the follow-up off the crossbar was mental, wasn't it? Ronaldo being benched was huge, wasn't it? It was really huge. I think all of us who hadn't captained him or didn't have him that was the best news ever on Saturday morning. But yeah, then the rest of everyone else let us down. Very few people captain Salah, I think, in the kind of FPL community, if you like. Not many people had him as captain.
Punished him. He punished us for
Yeah,
not having that faith.
he did. So how did you get on, Josh?
Oh, well, your 42 looks very, very good when you compare it to my 35. So 35 points. Post wildcard is not the kind of figures I was looking for, but I still feel like maybe the last 2 game weeks, not the ones to really look back and think, well, that's setting the trend for long term. So I don't feel too bad, but really the guys that I brought in, a lot of disappointment from DS and Cancelo, both with 0 points from both of them. Ramsdale coming in with the clean, although I don't think Arsenal look that convincing really. So we'll see how he gets on and hopefully continues to bring back some clean sheet points for us. But Rudiger with the blank as well. Ben Rama with a blank. Sarr with 1 point. Cheers, Sarr. Rafinha just with the 3, as you said. Salah again. Thank God for Salah. And then Antonio, Tony, and Lukaku all blanking. So on the bench, I had Alonso, who actually I had Diaz. He came in for Alonso, but seeing Chilwell come on and give away a penalty was like great. Although we started, Alonso will be back now, and then Chilwell bangs one in. So I don't know what I think now.
I was going to ask you about Alonso actually, because I think you shared with me your this draft before the deadline, and I've just forgot to ask you about the Alonso Chilwell thing because I think people were talking about it. Did you just go with Alonso because his upside is just incredible if he starts, despite the risk, or did you just think Alonso would start over Chilwell?
I really thought he would start. So he started midweek in Champions League, didn't he? And then came off. And I think some people were saying, you can read that one of 2 ways. Either his performance was so bad that he had to get taken off, or, he was taken off for whatever strategic or tactical reason, but now he's fresher for the weekend. And I think what we now know with 2020 vision of hindsight is Chilwell was started here and was brought on midweek. So it's looking like maybe there's a shift towards Chilwell at the moment, or maybe that is just rotation. But there is a lot more doubt over his minutes, more so than ever this season, right at the point when I've got him in the team. So I think all kind of Alonso owners now will be looking and thinking, over the next game week, let's see after the international break, what the hell is going on.
Yeah, I did hear from apparently one of the Chelsea journalists tweeted out after that Champions League game. I say I heard it from another FPL podcast. This is like a human centipede bit of information getting passed through podcasts. But I'd heard that he'd said that maybe he think his tweet was that is the Alonso experiment over now after that performance, because I don't think he had a good game, as you say, in midweek. So yeah, we'll see. I mean, the good thing about your team is you had Diaz on the bench to come on. I mean, that's insane, really. And again, you've got the Livramento as well. So it's not like you even have to start Alonso and you'd still have a great defense going forward. Diaz, Rudiger, Cancelo.
Yeah, and that was the strategy for me, to have 4 well-priced defenders with another mil in the bank so that I can maneuver to Trent when he's back in, when we find out when he is coming back. I don't know actually how long it's going to be, but I had some either maneuverability to get from Lukaku to Ronaldo or from a well-priced defender to Trent. So yeah, I have options, but it's still kind of stuck in limbo with Alonso. But the rest of the players are looking like decent picks, potentially longer term, and they're starters. So yeah, not too many fires.
I think so. I think that's really good. Benrahma, Sarr, Rafinha, probably the 3 standout mid-price mids. And then Antonio, Tony, and Lukaku, really good. I know they blanked this week, but I mean, Tony again looked phenomenal. I thought him linking up with Mbuemo, who obviously got the points in the end this week, but yeah, long term, Tony's going to get points despite the bad fixtures, I think. I think the only one I'd question there is Sarr, and whether Sarr's fixtures now, I don't think he had a very encouraging performance against, who were they playing? Leeds. They lost to Leeds, didn't they? And that's one where you might have expected him to penetrate that defence a bit more. I nearly brought him in for Torres, who I got rid of. It's between him and Rafinha. And I just thought, Leeds with the fixtures, I'll go Rafinha, who also blanked. So whatever.
Yeah, and now, you look at Watford's upcoming fixtures and they do not look great. And suddenly I think there's a lot of question marks. So from what went from being Saar looking like he's in great form, suddenly Watford look vulnerable and Saar's potential points look like they may have taken a big dip. So
and there's the new manager syndrome. Claudio's come in today, I think confirmed, was it?
yeah, will there be a bounce, new manager bounce, or will there be
he
no
seems
bounce?
like a bouncy one, doesn't he? He
Yeah.
seems like a bouncy manager who's going to bring a bounce, if nothing else. Probably nothing else.
The
Basically,
Tinker
with his
Man, how
history.
dare you?
He's awful, really, isn't he? I mean, he obviously the Leicester year was unbelievable, but the rest of his time, pretty poor. I think his record is, isn't it? I mean, if I'm wrong there, someone tell me, but that's my perception of him. But good luck to him, likable guy. But yeah, I mean, you could be worse, Josh. You could have Dennis in your team still.
Ooh,
so that's
hard.
it's another yellow card and another 1 pointer for Dennis, the menace. So
loves
he's going
yellow.
to leave. Yeah, I think now's not the time to be getting on Watford assets, is it?
No, but we'll get there. That's talking probably too much about future plans, isn't it?
It
We've
is what we
reviewed.
did there. This often bleeds into it. Yeah, we have reviewed another awful week all around. So again, not the worst week to have a bad week. If you're getting our scores 42-35, when the average is much higher, say in the 50s, then you're really in trouble, aren't you? And as we'll find with the algo teams later, the differentials this week, the differential 11 had an absolute worldie. So stay tuned for that.
Foreshadowing. People. I like it.
Here you go.
Let's get away from our teams. We don't want to talk. We don't talk anymore about our points.
Don't look at them. Don't look at them. See you later.
So XG XA, Jack. Now, for the people that haven't listened before, or maybe just want this retold, what do we do with our XG and XA top performer review?
Yeah, really simple. All we're going to do is take the top 5 players for XG, so expected goals, and top 5 for expected assists through this season so far. We've come to a point, though, where we're 7 games in. We had a little chat before the pod, Josh, didn't we? And debate was, do we take the top 5 for the whole season so far? So for the 7 games, and do we keep that going? So for 8 games, 9 games, 10 games? Or would it be more useful to trim that down a bit and say, right, the last 5 games that have gone, who are the top 5? Because that gives you a better indication on form, I would say, and more, therefore is more useful for our immediate plans. So we took the decision to go with the 5, didn't we?
We did.
Yeah, and here we are now. So let's go through the top 5 players for XG in the last 5 game weeks. So these are the red hot boys that are banging in the goals, or at least getting in the positions where they should be scoring goals. Josh, who is number 5 for XG? Who's the 5th best player for XG over the last 5 weeks?
It's the fan favourite, and my favourite, only joking, it's Sadio Mane.
Sadio, he's still hanging in there. He's hanging in there, the top 5. He's been in that top 5 since that explosive performance against Leeds. Scored again this week. Josh, you're our resident Liverpool expert. How are you feeling about Mane, Liverpool generally, FPL-wise? What are you thinking?
Well, if you've been listening week in, week out, which I know you all have been, I've been bouncing back and forth with Mane, and I think that kind of tells the story in itself. He is hot and cold. There'll be games where Liverpool play really well and he will inevitably get chances. And he is playing in a very attacking team where he will get chances as well. But he still looks like maybe the worst, not the worst, but the least dangerous of the front 3 for Liverpool, I would say. He had a very good opportunity and took his goal very well against City. A lot of the hard work, you would say, or majority of the hard work was done by Salah there, breaking up the defense and sliding the ball through. Great run from him from out to in, round Diaz, I think it was, who saw him late. But he basically, after his run, Salah just gave him a ball where he basically had a one-on-one and just had to slot it into the bottom corner. So he did have the best XG of any Liverpool player this week just gone against City. I guess what I would say is he is, of course, still a very good pick, but Salah is by far the better option. And if you want to double up on Liverpool, then maybe, he is now your best option with Bobby Firmino back in against taking minutes away from Jota. But I'm still not convinced that he's worth his price tag. But I'm here to be proven wrong. And so far, I think I may have done. So what do you think? Are you proving me wrong? Prove me wrong.
Am I proving you wrong? I don't know, really. Mane's the kind of mental gymnastics I jump around with Mane always every year is if he wasn't on Liverpool's team, would we look at him in a better light? You know, is it just because he's there with Salah, we compare them a bit too much? Whereas if he was doing exactly what he was doing for a Spurs or a Chelsea or whoever, would we say, yeah, Mane's their main man, Salah's Liverpool's main man, but Mane is the other main man, like we do with Bruno? And yeah, this year I think he's good. I wish I brought it. I was a Salah Mane starter game week 1, and of course bottled it when Mane did nothing and Bruno got the hat trick, so got rid of him. But actually, if I'd stuck with Mane, I'd have more points now than Bruno, I think, or just about. It's very close anyway. But so either way, that was probably a wasted transfer from my perspective. But yeah, I don't think he's a bad pick at all, really. And it's the only thing. It's a bit of a theme with some of these players, and it will be that the price is what matters. I think we're beyond the issue of taking up a Liverpool slot, like you said. I don't think Jota's viable now that Firmino's back, and he hasn't really done that well, has he? In Firmino's absence, he's done okay, but not well enough to make me think that rotation isn't coming there. Would that be accurate?
Yeah, entirely. So you'd say in the team that has the highest XG in the league, I'm not going to say put anyone up there and they'll score goals, but he's a very good goal scorer, and so he's maybe delivered what you would expect. But there have been parts of his game where you would have wanted him to play a little bit better, and I think Firmino, is such a good facilitator for Mane and Salah, and he has that kind of off the ball part of his game, the press, which makes a massive difference. So I think, yeah, Jota, although he's done very well, he hasn't done enough to keep Firmino permanently out of that team.
No, the standards are so high in that team. I mean, he's got 2.2 XG and 1.59 XGA in the last 5 games, Jota, which is very good. It's still top 10 in the league, but that team expects more, I think. And I think Klopp will expect even more, as their defense isn't quite what it used to be, I don't think. So they're going to need to rely on goals. I think they really relied on bits of individual brilliance in that Man City game, and a bit of luck from the ref, I have to say it. I mean, Milner should have been sent off, really.
For sure.
But the Salah was just, and we'll come on to Salah, but oh my Lord, what a player, what a goal. So yeah, Mane, I don't think he's a bad pick at all. And if you've got him, you should be happy. If you've managed to craft your team with him in it, then I don't think he's a bad one to have at all. I think he's a much better asset this year than he was last year so far. Fair way to end on Mane.
Yeah, happy with that.
Yeah. There you go, Mane. Well done, Sadio. Happy for you. Moving on, Josh. Who's in the number 4th spot?
Number 4 is Mikel Antonio. So I'll let you start with this one, Jack. What are you thinking? I mean, we've both got him. What's the message you're sending to everyone? Keep him, love him, hold him tight.
Yeah, those things really. I mean, he's been an ever present in the top 5 for XG. I think he was top last week, I believe. Yeah, so last week although last week, to be fair, we did do the top. We'd done every single game, so the first 6 games. So, and game week 1, he obviously did very well. So this is the last 5 games, including the one that he missed. So he's still in the top 5, including the one where he got sent off and the one he missed. So it just shows how good he is. Bit of a quieter game for him this week, I think. I think his XA this week was actually very good, which shows that he's not the selfish goal scorer that a lot of the players are in the top XG. He does provide for others also. And yeah, his numbers are up there with the premiums. He's not a premium price. He's as much of a no-brainer as it comes still for me. I'd say regardless of fixtures for West Ham, they're a decent side. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, you pointed out there's only been 2 blanks for him. One was the red card game. Obviously, then he had the suspension. And then this week against the Brentford team, who are looking better and better. So I think you look at how he's done in the 7 game week so far. It's been electric, 3 double-digit hauls. I think at his price point, it's a very much hold until we're told otherwise or shown otherwise.
Yeah, he's still the top overall XG for the whole season so far. So for the 7 games, I mean, 5 goals, 3 assists, only bettered by Mo. Yeah, he's elite. He's elite stuff. And West Ham, and I think he's fixture proof. I'm going to say it. I think every team would fear playing him, and he's capable of getting goals, isn't he, against every team? What are West Ham's fixtures like? Are they
kind of mixed now? So they've got Everton away, Spurs at home, guaranteed win. Villa away,
there's a
Liverpool
guaranteed
home.
win.
guaranteed win.
Yeah.
Liverpool at home. So it's kind of nothing
Not
too
the
easy in there.
easiest. Yeah, but you could see West Ham. It wouldn't be surprised if he scored against any of those teams, would it really?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'll be interested to see how West Ham as a team, whether their form is kind of maybe fizzling a little bit, and that would maybe affect the output. And for people who maybe are doubling up on West Ham, that would obviously answer that question. But him as an asset individually, you've got to hold on to him. You've got to keep him going until we're shown otherwise again.
Yeah, people did predict it a bit when Europe kicked in, didn't they? Did they? And wondered if they'd have the squad to cope with it. That Europa League really does take its toll a bit, I think, as the weeks roll on. Being as it's still early and Antonio's fit, yeah, keep him and he should do well for you. So that's Antonio. Who's in number 3, Josh?
Well, he's having a party. It's Jamie Vardy. And we were kind of not dismissive of him, I'd say, up until now.
I think I was dismissive.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe we were. Maybe
we still will be.
Yeah, well, yes, I think maybe despite this great XG and the fact that he is joint top goal scorer with Mo Salah, I mean, I'm still thinking that his price and the fact that, you know, he's playing for a Leicester team that I'm still waiting to see them reach the heights maybe, or have the confidence in them that they'll do as well as last season. I'm hesitant, Jack. Why am I hesitant?
I think you're hesitant because of two things, and you touched on one of them there, being Leicester as a whole just not performing at all. You know, it didn't surprise me at all. I thought Palace would win that game, and it didn't surprise me at all when they came back from 2-0 down. Leicester just have it. I think they've been bottling it year on year in terms of the top 4. I think that lack of self-belief in themselves has sort of distilled in them now, and it's not, they don't look like they think they can win games and do well. I think their flames of seasons gone by, so your Maddisons and your Barneses, aren't shining as brightly now, and I'm not sure they've really replaced them that well, I'm afraid to say. But this is about Jamie Vardy, and no one knows where the goal is as well as him, do they? So I think the other reason you're hesitating is that price point. And we said it last week, 10 point.
Vardy's 10.4.
That's at 10.4, which is not, it's a hideous price, really.
Terrible price.
Because what are you doing? You drop, it's not far away from Lukaku, although he's been a letdown, but it isn't that far from Lukaku, is it? It's a mil away. And it's far more than your Antonios and your Bamfords, your Ings, and all the other strikers. So he's suffering really from sitting there. But should we just spend the extra money and get him?
I'm a no at the moment. I'm waiting to be proven wrong. He will score goals throughout the season. I just don't think he will score as many goals as the people that he will be compared to for his price point.
His XG is low as well. It's not like he's contributing really in other ways. It's actually lower for the last 5 than it has been across the season on average. So he's such a lethal finisher, but I'll wait till Leicester pick up. If they string a few wins together and he's still scoring, I'm waiting for that team to kick in now. And Iheanacho started, didn't he, at the weekend? So I wonder if, I don't think he's completely immune to rotation at his age when they've got Daka and Iheanacho in the wings, you know. So I do agree. Don't sell him if you have him, but I wouldn't tear up your team to get him in.
Yeah, watch list.
Sure.
Next, number 2 then. We're done with Jamie Vardy.
Yeah.
Number 2, Jack. Who is that? It's a big name.
Well, it's Cristiano Ronaldo, and I'm surprised to see him still so high up in here. 3.56 for the last 5 games. You don't own him, Josh. You wildcarded, but you opted to not get him. What was your thinking behind that? Do you regret it?
I don't regret it, obviously, after this week seeing him benched, which has answered some questions that people have had as to his age. How is he going to be managed this year? Maybe Ollie's been taught a lesson this week, but I think even though he didn't start, obviously he's brought in kind of for 30 minutes odd when they were winning. So I think it kind of shows he's going to be playing a part in most games, isn't he? Whether he's starting from the bench or starting in the lineup right from the beginning. But I think the bigger question at the moment is Manchester United as a team. And when we compare him to who else, you know, up front, you've got Jamie Vardy, top goal scorer at the moment, as you said, who probably should be thrown in the mix to consider how you spend that, 10 million or 10 million plus change plus, or Ronaldo's 12 million plus change. And then you go against Lukaku. So I know he blanked this week, but he had some great opportunities. Probably should have got an assist. Should have scored the goal when he came off the post. He was stood right behind Timo when Timo scored. Could have quite easily, put that away if Timo hadn't made the run, or if the ball from Aspi had a little bit more pace on it. So for Ronaldo, yeah, he will score points, but I think money at the moment is better spent elsewhere. What do you think for CR7?
Yeah, I think that this is going to sound crazy, but there's not a lot of difference between him and Jamie Vardy in terms of their FPL viability and the issues surrounding them. So no one's doubting their goal scoring ability, proven track record. They're in a team that's struggling to convince us. So their team's struggling to convince us. They're expensive in FPL, and they're a potential slight rotation risk now. So I think Ronaldo and Vardy have all of those things in common, which go against the viability of getting them in your team, really. Ronaldo's the flashier one, obviously, but for me, they have equal appeal to me now. Obviously, this week they played on the Wednesday and then they got the early kickoff on the Saturday, which is harsh, and they shouldn't do that to teams. I don't think the Prem, they need to sort that out. And maybe that's the only reason he was benched. But equally, I think you've got, Cavani breathing down your neck, another world-class striker, really, in his own right. You're going to have to play Cavani sometimes. Yeah, I'm not scared of not having him again. I'm glad I've never had him, really. When he started scoring initially, I was very scared. But my gut feeling, I think, might be right on Ronaldo in that he's not going to be worth the 12.5 for those reasons. And the fixtures are not looking good either.
No, they've got some tough fixtures coming up, which I know we talk about these players being fixture proof, but in terms of the team's form, a run of some nice fixtures might be able to play themselves back in, but they're going to have some tough tests, aren't they?
Yeah, they really are. I mean, yeah, Leicester next week. Well, Ronaldo versus Vardy next week will be interesting, and then it's
Liverpool at home.
Liverpool at home. I can't see them doing any damage there.
Spurs, then City.
Spurs, who just won, and then Man City. I mean, yeah, don't buy Ronaldo now. If there's ever a time not to buy him, it's now. I think we'd see more people selling him if Lukaku was doing the business, but he's not, is he? Annoyingly for us. And just looking now, amazingly, the last 5 game weeks, he's 16th for XG. He's below Timo Werner, incredibly, for XG. In 5 appearances, same as Timo Werner. And he's got more minutes than him. Insane. What's happened to Lukaku, Josh? I know he's not in this list, but should we be worried about Lukaku?
I think one of the criticisms I've heard about him and his potential points, maybe since he's been blanking, or maybe a reason why he's been blanking so much, is he seems a bit hesitant in his kind of build-up play. He's not being quite as good with his movement, and they're not using him in the same way that it was when he first came in, like using him right through the middle, linking him in with everything. I think he is a player that craves on touches, isn't he? Like, he needs to be involved. And there's been parts of games, chunks of games, where he's just not getting it because he's being standing up there saying, give me the ball. He's got one guy right on him and another defender kind of waiting to snatch the ball into his feet. So, and maybe that's why, these other attackers around him, like Timo, are thriving a little bit, because he's taken the focus off them, but not so good for Lukaku owners. But I would go back to the point again that there's 3 scenarios come to mind from the game on the weekend where he could have cashed in points, and that's that kind of that variance part, isn't it? Like, it could have quite easily on another day could have got 2 goals and an assist. Like, that's how the cookie crumbles, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'm surprised it actually so low actually after that, because there were some games. There have been games I remember. I mean, that City we missed at the weekend was, I mean, that was almost a 1.0 XG. I mean, how he hit the post, I don't know. But yeah, there was the game. I remember we did a pod just after he played, and I'd captained him kind of against the grain, and just it was incredibly frustrating to watch. He set a few people up and things. So yeah, I'm not worried. Not worried as a Lukaku owner. But if I was a Ronaldo owner, would I go to Lukaku? I'm not sure. Not sure at the moment. I might downgrade and invest elsewhere. But Chelsea's fixtures now, I mean, Lukaku was known as a bit of a flat track bully before. Who's he got next? You can never see the badge you're looking for, can you, with these lists? Mm-hmm. Right, so Brentford, Norwich, Newcastle. I mean,
Burnley.
I mean, if Lukaku doesn't bang in, at least half of these, then what's happened there? We've misjudged him massively, haven't we? And I would be very worried as an owner.
Yeah, I mean, this run that we've got now is double up, triple up Chelsea, land.
Yeah. You've done that. You've done that exact thing on your wild card, haven't you? Fair
Yeah,
play.
if anything, I came about a week early, really, for the party, for the Chelsea party, knowing that a lot of people were
Yeah.
saying wait because it was after the international break, and great decision. But I had too many fires to put out. So, but yeah, for Chelsea and hopefully for Lukaku, it's looking like this run could be sweet.
Good. Right. We've talked about Lukaku more than any of the other players in this XG table, and he's not even in it. So let's move on. The final one. It's no surprise. It's Mo Salah. Josh, we say every week he's a no-brainer for your team, but I'll go a step further now. Is he a no-brainer to just captain every week, regardless?
I mean, he's got to stop scoring at some point. I would say at the moment, on the form that he's on, you've got to back him. And I made the mistake this week of picking Lukaku, thinking that the fixture was what you need to focus on, as did many, and we've been burnt. And I think that what it shows is Mo is fixture proof. He's in insane form. Just back him. Lesson learned. Just captain him.
Well, you say lesson learned. In 2 weeks' time, Liverpool have United and Chelsea have Norwich at home. Liverpool away at United. Will the lesson still be learned by then? Or will you be going back to Big Rom?
I'd like to see how Rom does in the next game. He needs to kind of find his Vava.
Good answer.
But I think if there's one, we said it in our fixture predictions, and we look at whoever, insert team here playing Norwich is a captaincy shout. So, and then you pick one of the, as you said, biggest threats against weaker teams.
I know. But now I'm thinking, just look at who Salah's playing and Captain Salah. It should be a rule that trumps that rule. I mean, that goal he scored against City this week, like he made them look like Norwich, the way he just completely bamboozled them all. Incredible. And the assist, it was an amazing goal of the season for sure. I can't see another goal beating that. And it's against City, the most avoidable team to captain people against. And he made them look silly. I don't know. Yeah. I'm thinking now, just do it. And it's one less worry. Just captain Salah every week. And over the course of the games, you'll be up more than you are down. I don't know. Maybe that's mental. We all like to think we want to set and forget captain, don't we? But when the opportunity comes, I can't think of a better time than now for there have ever been one than Salah being one. But there's one staring us at the face now, and we're like, well, look, there's Norwich and there's like we don't actually want one, do we? Because we like to, as humans, we like to think we know better, and our pick is better, don't we? But I'm just thinking maybe we just do it, set and forget it. I don't know. Yeah. I think if you do it, you'll end up with a lot of points over the season. Put it that way.
And by going against, you could lose double, because the percentage of managers captaining Salah throughout game weeks now is going to be huge.
Yeah, but again, I wonder if it will be even our memories are so short, aren't they? In 2 weeks' time, that Norwich-Chelsea game is. And it would just be interesting to see how many remember this week and be like, no, remember when Salah had City and Lukaku had whoever. I don't know. Time will tell. But I think it's a very viable strategy, until there's an injury or till Christmas or whatever, to just leave it on Salah and think about other things.
I like it. So that's XG done. Now on to the assisters. We've got 5 assisters, Jack. Who is at the 5th slot?
Yeah, we've got 5 assisters, and I think for the first time, they're all different players to the attackers. So that's nice. So we'll have some different chats. In the 5th spot, Joss, is cult hero Saint Maximan with 1.71 over the last 5. How do you feel about him?
He's defying the fact that you shouldn't be looking at any Newcastle players as good FPL assets. But my God, is he effective? I think the annoying thing in trying to pick him is he seems slightly too expensive, and he's playing for a team that aren't great. You're just kind of waiting. We're thinking, are we asking too much of this guy? Can he carry the other 10 Newcastle players on his shoulders all season long and continue to perform? Is he going to stop, Jack?
I think he'll keep going until he gets injured. He hasn't had a double-digit haul. So he's 6'2", 6'5", 8'82". So very respectable. When you watch him, it's exactly like you said. He's so much better than the rest of his team. It's almost laughable. It does remind me of Grealish when Villa were really bad and he was our only good player. They all get the ball to him, pray he comes up with something good. He lays it on a plate for them all the time and they mess it up. And he must be really frustrated. And I do think he's destined for bigger things. But the big one for me with him is he's a striker. Why is he a striker in this game? He's been a midfielder of years gone by. He's no more a striker than Salah, than Mane, than Son, Greenwood. It's laughable that he's a striker and those players aren't. So I think that really goes against his appeal, that he takes up one of those slots and he gets fewer points for a goal. Yeah, that's how I feel about him. So
I guess we're going to summarize buy, sell, hold for ASM. What would you do? We don't have him, so would you buy him?
I wouldn't buy him. I'd hold him. I think if you, again, a bit like the Mane thing, if you've managed to get him to fit into your team, he's not an emergency sell by any means. Newcastle are never going to have good fixtures because they're so bad. So it's not like you're waiting for a spell there. Yeah, and I think the super hot striker fever has cooled a bit now. There was a time a few weeks ago, wasn't there, where there were just too many good striking options. And now all of a sudden Bamford and DCL are injured. Ings isn't doing it, etc., etc. So I think he's safe for a spot in your team. And, it'll make Newcastle games exciting to watch. Okay. So there's a bonus. Good. Would you agree? Sorry, I've just kind of said our opinion there, but would you agree with that?
I would agree entirely. So I'm glad you said everything you said.
Oh, good.
Nothing to add.
Always nice. Okay. Josh, fourth in the XA, Bruno Fernandes.
Can I cut what we said about Ronaldo and paste it in here?
Copy and paste.
Sorry, yeah, copy and paste. With the addition that I think actually, if you're going to pick a United asset, you're a diehard United fan, you think, I have to have one United player on my team. I'd say he's probably the one.
Wow, that's a big change from weeks gone by.
But that is in the context of me saying, if you had to have one asset, and I would not recommend having any assets for them at the moment. But I think he's probably the creative spark in that team. Everything goes through him, which we know. This is nothing new. And because of that, I think he's always going to have that ceiling of potential high points when they batter teams. Because I think there will be points in this season where they do batter teams because that's all they've got this year. Their attack, we know they're going to attack. They're going to go outright. They seem to be only on the front foot, not really looking what's behind them. And eventually that is going to click again. And that means points, FPL points. So I think he's probably the best bet for them at the moment because he keeps them ticking over. But bottom line, I still wouldn't pick anyone from United at the moment. And even if you had him, it's an arguable, it's a push to maybe a hold because you've got so many other good assets. But what are you thinking? Do you want anyone from United? Do you want him?
No, I don't really. I agree with you. I don't want him. I definitely don't want United assets. Yeah, he's still the main man, isn't he? He's more the main man than I think a lot of us anticipated he would be when Ronaldo came in. He's still their talisman, I would say. I mean, he's in the XA as a reason. He's in this top 5 for XA. He's still pulling the strings. Yeah, I still think Mane's a better pick than him at that price. And there are cheaper mids that are better picks even than him, I think, now with the fixtures they have. So yeah, I agree. And the penalty doubt thrown in there now. We don't know who'll take the next one. So I think he will still, but it's definitely not a certainty. So yeah, get off him. It's a sell for me.
Ooh.
Yeah. So that's Bruno. See you later, Bruno. We'll catch up after your bad set of fixtures, Bruno. All right, mate?
Exactly.
Call you then. Call you in 5 weeks. Surprisingly, Josh, number 3, we've got Mason Mount in this spot for the last 5 games. Under the radar a bit?
Massively. I mean, he didn't even start the last game. So you'd say, he only had 22 minutes, I think, in the last game. I'll just bring up the stats now, looking at how he performed in terms of his statistics for that game, 0.8 XA. So you can see, even in 22 minutes, the impact that he had. And obviously, the subs that they made, Tuchel made at the end, they really kind of pushed on and kicked on then. So that's when they went for the result, really. But
why is he getting benched? Do we know?
Well, that was going to be my point exactly. They seem to have so many options in midfield now. Like, what's going to happen to his minutes? We thought he was nailed at the beginning, and suddenly there's not a bit, there's a lot of rotation in there. And we haven't seen Sol since his debut.
Disastrous debut. Yeah.
Disastrous. Maybe he needs a bit more time to bed in. But when he gets thrown in as well, I know he's not maybe one of the attacking midfielders, but he's going to take up one of those central midfield spots. So I just think they're the new City, maybe.
Took the words out of my mouth. Yeah, I think they are. Still very impressive. If he does nail down a spot, I mean, they are really impressive. He's played. Everyone else in the top 5 here has played 450 minutes. He's on 333, and he's third with 2.36. He is so good at playing that role, I think, of just in that little pocket there, just playing it out to the wide or just popping a little ball in. Yeah, I think he is really good. He's just not getting the minutes. Don't buy him, I think we're saying, aren't we?
The risk is too high. I mean, in
Risk
the
is too high.
last 4 game weeks, 0 minutes against Villa, 45 against Spurs, 0 minutes against City, 25 against Southampton.
It's not nice, is it?
That's not good viewing. 70 minutes in the last 4 games. As an FPL manager, no thank you.
Yeah, 7.4 mil. There's a plethora of other cheaper options, I'm afraid. Sorry, Mason. Second, Josh, Trent Alexander-Arnold.
Well, can we say anything without really knowing when he's going to be back? We get nothing from the FPL website. I haven't seen anything.
Ignore that. But can we just say, as a little public service announcement, never go by the percentage chance of playing icon on the FPL site. I hear people like, it's one of those at work, isn't it? You talk to people at work, like, well, I got Trent in. They said 75% chance of playing. Like, that is complete baloney, that percentage chance. They know less than than we know. So don't go by that. Sorry, Josh. Rant
Good.
over. Continue.
Good. But what I would say is there's probably going to be people listening that either have him or are looking to get him back, or potentially get him back in and say, well, what do I do here, Jack and Josh? What am I doing? Game week 8, sat Liverpool's game against Watford away. Would love to have him. 16th of October. What do I do? So I guess what I'd say there is wait for your bloody conference. You're impatient.
So to wait and see. Yeah, you obviously hadn't brought. I've kept him in my team despite the injury. I even started him on the 1% chance it was all a lie. But yeah, he's that good. He is the Salah of the defense for me. When he's fit, you have to have him in. You obviously wildcarded, didn't go for him. Would you, if it was declared fully fit now, Josh, before game week 8, would you get him in as a priority?
Well, I can't get to him in one transfer.
He's that, of course you can't know, that expensive.
So I probably wouldn't be, just because the other defenders that I've got probably 5, you'd say, good defenders if you include Alonso, who we're not really sure about, that could do a job instead of him. So I couldn't bring him in one. If I could, and it was announced that he was fit, then yes, I think I would bring him in for that game. Especially for the fact that, if it was in replacement of someone like Alonso, who's now got a doubt about their minutes, or even a Cancelo who's been doing very well, but you do worry about their potential minutes going forward, despite playing 90 every minute so far. It's a matter of time before Pep wields his Pep.
Can happen to any of them. Torres, memories of Torres.
Torres.
Memories of him. Yeah, I think Trent is. I'm really glad I've kept him, actually. A bit like when Antonio got the ban, I didn't sell him. I was glad to have held on. I will just wait. It'll be bated breath for the conferences next week. But yeah, I think it's a hold if you've got him now, and maybe a buy if you don't have him, if he's fit. I think you have to get him at some point if he's playing. He's a fear player, isn't he? If you don't have him, he's the behind the sofa player that you don't want to see playing. Number 1 spot, retains his title from last week. Really impressive. Ivan Toney. Josh, you're an owner. You're a proud owner.
Very proud. Very proud of my boy, Ivan. I think Brentford, bottom line, Brentford look amazing. They look great.
They do.
I would say it looks like he is going to be the best attacking asset. But I think what we're finding out is he's not the only great asset from that team. If you're only going to have one, he's still great, priced amazingly well. After this game week 8, they've got Chelsea at home. Not the best fixture, obviously, but maybe they're fixture proof after last week. We don't know.
Yeah.
After that, they've got some great fixtures, so maybe you want to double up. But what I would say is I think he's the best Brentford asset, and Brentford look very good. So yeah, I like him very, very much. But what about you, Jack? Are you a Tony fan?
Yeah, I'm a big Tony fan. I wish I had him. I think he's class. And yeah, like you say, Brent, he's not just a good player in a bad team. He's a good player in a good team. They've proven us all wrong, Brentford. We looked at these string of fixtures and said avoid, didn't we? But they've won 2, going on 3 against Chelsea. Wouldn't surprise me if they got some in there, the way they play. But yeah, they were surprisingly brilliant against West Ham and got the win. I mean, any team that 1-1, a newly promoted team away and 1-1 that puts every single man in the box in the 93rd minute for a corner needs to be raising AFPL eyebrows, because it's amazing their self-belief in their system that's just unwavering. And I think it's something we haven't seen before in the Prem, this kind of attitude and this kind of reliance on out of the box tactics. Yeah, it's really exciting. So I think Tony's great, and Buemo is also a great asset to look for. But speaking about Tony purely, I think people will be rewarded for their patience with him, because he hasn't scored every week. So this week again played really well and blanked. And I think a lot of casuals will just see that and sell him. But I think if you keep him, he'll pay dividends later.
Best in his price point, would you say?
No doubt. Oh, it's no doubt. For strikers, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. Again, that's a mark against ASM, because if it's between Maximin and Tony, I think Tony's the one. Well done for having him. Proud of you.
Way, do love him. So yeah, that's the XG and XA. I think we covered everything nicely there. What do you think about a little break, Jack?
I'd love a little break, Josh. Good work.
Perfect. We'll be back in a second. And we are back. Jack, welcome back.
Thanks a lot.
Oh, good. And we're going to move on to the talking points now. Well, I should say talking point. We have one talking point before we get onto the predictions. And it's yours, Jack. What is it?
It is. My talking point of the week, Josh, is, are good players on bad teams worth it? All right. So what I'm thinking with this is, how much, if a player's doing well in FPL, how much of the fact that he's playing for a bad team do you weigh up in your mind? And do you weigh that up more than, say, a Liverpool or a Chelsea or a City player? How much of an influence does it have? So the reason this sprung to mind this week, because we've got all these players that are very much in the ether, in the zeitgeist, have been talked about at the moment. And we even talked about a few of them then. So your Jamie Vardy's, your St. Maximans. I've put Tony in there, but I think we agree that they're not a bad team, really. Again, it harkens back to the Jack Grealishes in the old days when he was on that rubbish Villa side. You've got Sarr now on a struggling Watford side, but a bit of a talisman. Gallagher for Palace. So I guess, what are your just general thoughts on this, Josh? Do you care, or do you care that a player's on a bad team ever? Or does it ever put you off a player that's on form? So Maximan's a great, perfect example of this, I think. What are your initial thoughts there?
Yeah, very thought-provoking. I like this question.
Okay.
So I think we touched upon the talisman theory before, didn't we? You know, having someone who's going to start and play a pivotal part of that team should be central to the FPL points you can just draw out of that team. However, that's the caveat of that is the ceiling of FPL points for the whole team, and therefore that player is capped, isn't it? Because of, like we were saying, ASM carrying every Newcastle player on his shoulder. We're now looking at Sarr and saying, is he gonna return at all through this tough fixtures? Are they gonna have a bounce with Ranieri? And I think what it comes down to is, yeah, those doubts stem from the team's strength. Like, the player looks like a great asset. If you picked him up and put him in another team, maybe they would look more appetizing. But I think the biggest thing for me is, as a point of comparison, for those players that we mentioned, there are other players similar priced that maybe play for slightly better teams, still pivotal, maybe not talisman, but maybe they're a bit of a safer bet. So do you want Sarr, or do you want Ben Rama or Rafinha, or Gallagher, maybe, because Palace are looking a little bit better, or Mbuemo, for example?
Or a Decore, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, or Gray, Townsend now.
Yeah, that is true. I think, thinking about it, it's like a spectrum, isn't it? It's like, on the extreme end, Say you've got two bars and the talismanic nature of the player goes up, but the quality of the team goes down. You kind of want the talismanic bar to be slightly higher than the team quality. You don't want an amazing talisman on a completely terrible team, but equally you don't want that amazing team, but the player's just one of many, like Man City. So I think Grealish is a perfect example here, because when he was at Villa, he was the talisman. But when we first got promoted, we were so terrible that he wasn't quite worth having in FPL, I don't think, even at his low price. Last season, Villa got better, but Grealish remained the talisman. So he then was really worth having in, definitely at his price, and was a great player to have in your team last year. This year, he's gone to a much better team, still a decent price, but he's nowhere near the talisman status that he used to be. And therefore, so that bar of the team's quality has gone way up, but his talisman status has gone way, way down. And I don't think he's as appealing a pick as he was last year, playing for a much worse team. And that's despite getting all the minutes still. Have I just talked absolute bollocks there? Did that make any sense? Is that my fever dream? Am I ill? Am I sick talking nonsense? Or did that make some kind of sense?
Yeah, is that like a Lemsip cloud?
Yeah, it was a load of shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know what? As you said that, I think it does make complete sense. And what I was thinking about is maybe that is the foundation of why Salah is the best pick, because he is a talisman. He's all top of the pillar on your talisman chart.
True.
For Liverpool, when you look at all the attacking assets, he's the one guy. He's the one guy you want, head and shoulders above the rest of them, in the best team for XG at the moment. Like, it's the most probably consistently attacking team, very attacking, very front foot, and he is by far the talisman. Whereas your other teams, Lukaku maybe hasn't reached that talisman figure yet. City, they've just rely on the talisman and pillar that you're talking about is split between so many different players.
Yeah, can be De Bruyne at times, can't it? But even he now, I wouldn't put in that bracket. Was Aguero for a time. Harry Kane's a great example.
Yeah.
Ultimate talisman. When Spurs are firing, he's essential, isn't he? Because he's the talisman. He's the Salah of that team when they're firing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're
to
right.
Bring it back to your point.
We've cracked it.
You're right. That's you want a better this game. We cracked.
We've solved FPL. That's really good. Yeah, like the Louis Zaha is the ultimate talisman, but that team are just not good enough, are they? That's a bit like the Grealish at the shit Villa. It has been over the years. Bit different.
Is he the talisman this year? That's
well, yeah. Has their quality gone up, but his talisman status gone down? So he's still not as good a pick. I don't know. I feel like we could give every player a rating potentially based on the scores of those two columns. You know, so team quality and talisman status. So again, the Ronaldo and Bruno Fernandes could be great picks, couldn't they? Because they're fighting for that talisman status, but
in a good
team's a bit shit.
But for now, without, I guess, we don't have those figures, obviously, but for now, what you're saying is that is a justification to not pick your SARs, the talismans of really struggling teams.
Yeah, I think it is.
Because although they've been scoring points, we rode a wave of form in a team which, you know, the form does dip and rise so drastically because the team doesn't have that quality. So it looks like, you know, Watford are on a down at the moment. They could take a while to gain that back. So therefore, Sarr is just not looking like the pick.
Yeah, and same for Saint Maximin.
Yeah,
exactly the same scenario, I think. Whereas, like you say, the Rafinha, that kind of player, arguably the talisman in a better team. So yeah, there you go. Interesting. That didn't go where I thought it would go, Josh. But that was enlightening, actually. Talking through that.
Okay, good talking point.
Yeah, good talking point. Done. Next. What we do next?
Fixture predictions we are doing next.
Yes, that's my favourite section, I think.
You do love this. So we're going to go through each of the fixtures for game week 8. They seem a long way away at the moment. And we're going to predict those fixtures and give a little nod to assets and how we think we're going to do, good or bad. So I'm going to try and be as unbiased as possible and pitch the first fixture to you first, Jack. It's Watford at home to Liverpool, early kickoff.
This should be a routine win for Liverpool. For me, Josh, even though it's away, it's the early kickoff. Gandhi says never back the early fixtures. We know. I don't care. My armband's going on Mo. Lesson learned yet again for the millionth time this week.
hate pacifists.
It's going to
so-
be I'll be amazed if Salah doesn't bag. I'll be amazed if Watford score, to be honest. I don't think, again, what we just said, I don't think this is a good one for the SAR owners. And I can't see anything other than a Liverpool 2 or 3-0 win, really. What do you think?
Yeah, even if there is a bounce for Watford, I think this is not the game that they would have chosen to have to
No.
try and utilize for a bounce. I think it's got to be a Liverpool win. I hope it is Liverpool win as a fan, and it comes back round to that captain, the informed player, Salah. Yeah, I'd be looking at the Salah armband here, despite the away fixture.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Flip the script, Josh. My team are playing in the next fixture. Bit of a derby. Villa versus Wolves. How do you think this will go?
Oh, Jack, I thought I was burnt with Villa for not last week, but the 2 weeks before, when I doubted them massively, and they did really well. But last week, I'm having my doubts again, Jack, and I think Wolves are gaining momentum, and Jimenez is looking like a beast. But it is a derby, therefore I think it will be a very, very tight game. So I'm going to go with a draw. I don't think it'll be goalless. I think it's going to be a bit of a fight. So I think play your Wolves attacking assets. I would be a little bit worried about your defensive assets because I think it's going to be a feisty one. What do you think?
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. Villa. I was sure Villa. It was so weird. I was sure Villa were going to beat Spurs, and that's the first time I've ever been sure that we'll beat Spurs in my life, probably. And of course, we didn't beat them. Yeah, really disappointing performance, really, against a lackluster Spurs. It has to be said. And yeah, Villa are a strange one to figure out at the moment. 1 week we're beating United, looking great. Next week struggling. And Wolves, unfortunately for us, great for them, are on the upward trajectory now. Like you say, Jimenez, I think, he's awoken. He's completed that rehab stage now, and he's looking really good. They've got a couple of other really good players. Benching Traore for them is paying off, as they learned last year. So yeah, I think Wolves are going to win. I hate to say it.
Dear.
I think Hwang looks really good. Hwang and look good. Villa shaky. I think Wolves are going to win, and I'd play your Wolves defensive assets. I hate to even say that. I've really swung on us, Josh. I'm down about the Spurs game, but I don't think we're in that good a spot at the moment. So I think Wolves are going to do all right here. Yeah, 2-0 Wolves.
Let's move on. Let's not dwell on that. Let's move on. So next we've got Leicester at home to Man United. Will Man United bounce back, Jack? What's Ollie going to do?
Oh, this one's tricky. This one's really tricky. I can't choose between them. I think they'll both score goals, but they're both quite soft at the back. So I think it's going to be a score draw. And I certainly wouldn't captain assets from either side. I'd be wary of defensive assets for either side. Could see Bruno getting a haul here for sure. Could see Vardy scoring, but not to the extent where I'd look to captain either, really. And I'm not afraid of this fixture. Despite owning no players, I'm not scared of it, because it could go either way. So yeah, a score draw for me. Josh, what do you think?
I would agree. I think despite the gap in the league table, United being 4th and Leicester being 13th, I think their form trajectories are crossing over. So, United are on a bit of a down, great early season, a little bit lost at the moment, and Leicester are starting to find their way, mainly because of Jamie Vardy's form, you'd say. So I think at this point, they're intersecting. Leicester at home, still think a score draw is what's gonna come out of that. So yeah, avoid the defensive assets of both teams if anyone's on those, because the defenses don't look great for either of them this year.
Quite so. Next one, Josh. A really tough one to call. Man City, Burnley.
Yeah, I think I got the easy one on this one. I would say has to be a City win. They looked very, very good against Liverpool. Maybe not much in it. You'd say if Milner got sent off, that would have changed the game. But I would say quality over big periods of the game, City looked the better team. So it's just that kind of attacking threat that Liverpool showed. So I think City against teams like Burnley, they're just going to trample them.
I think they will as well, yeah. And I think this year, Burnley's defence, but I think me and Tarkowski are not the stalwarts they once were. And yeah, I think City should roll over. I think I saw a stat earlier that their last 5 fixtures, the goal difference is 30-1 or something. Like City have scored 30. That can't be right. 30 and 5. It must be more than 5 games, but it's pretty crazy regardless. Yeah, I think it's going to be a steamroll. Who would you captain a City asset?
Which asset?
That's
Comes
a
back to
question,
that.
isn't it?
Yeah. I think we'll come back to the same question over and over again. Would love to have a slice of that City attacking threat, but who is it? Foden looked great, but again, I wouldn't be surprised if he gets rotated. So yeah, got to steer clear until someone really gets nailed and consistently produces points.
Yeah. Bench your Burnley defence.
For sure. If you've got any, I think now's the time to hide them away in that third bench spot.
Yeah, get your Livramentos out. Give him a chance.
Poor
Give
Livy.
him a chance. Yeah.
Back to you. So Norwich at home to Brighton. What are you thinking?
Yeah, it's a solid Brighton win this. And I know we make fun of Norwich and say, everyone's going to beat Norwich. I don't think everyone will beat Norwich all the time, but I do think Brighton will beat Norwich all the time. I think Brighton are really good. They're flying under the radar as a bit of a dark horse this year. Potter's really firmed up that defence. I think there's more Pays looking like he knows where the goal is at last. They got some good. I love Trossard. I think they've got some great players, and Norwich are pretty rubbish. So I think it's a solid Brighton win to 0. So I'm looking forward to playing Sanchez and Duffy in my defence, and I expect 6 points, please, boys. So yeah, it's 2 or 3-0 to Brighton for me. What do you think?
Agree entirely. Can't see Norwich offering that much attacking threat. I think what we saw in the last game as well from them is they've moved to a back 5 or 3 central defenders. I think they've become way more defensive just to stop the rot basically, and that's going to affect their attacking output. Norwich,
which wasn't great anyway, was it?
Not that they had much anyway. So I think Brighton, who have proved themselves to be so stubborn defensively for anyone else trying to score against them, that I can't see Norwich getting a pip here. But Brighton's attacking output is what's of concern. I mean, I think most people have gone for their defensive assets. So yeah, play them obviously.
Yeah, pretty straightforward on that one. Next up, less straightforward, I would say, Josh. Southampton against Leeds.
Yeah, I think 2 teams sat right next to each other in the table. Leeds 16th, Southampton 17th. Southampton have shown themselves to be awkward, haven't they? Again, much sometimes like Brighton, but nowhere near as consistently. That they can stop the opponents from scoring, but they just look toothless, which has kind of cost them in a lot of games. No wins so far this season. I can see Southampton at home being awkward again, despite Leeds' out and out kind of attacking threat. I think it's going to be a draw, maybe even a 0-0. Dare I say that for Leeds, not scoring any goals, being attackers they are. But I just think Southampton are well set up at home with their defence.
Yeah, fair shout. What's really interesting is Southampton are actually higher than Leeds for XG this season, which you wouldn't have guessed. They're both mid-table. But yeah, the Adam Armstrongs haven't quite. They looked really promising early on, didn't he? But he hasn't quite got going. He just needs that couple of goals to get going. I think Southampton are going to win this. I think Leeds are. They're like a Man United light at the moment. And I mean, by that, I mean, they've got some very nice attacking assets, but are quite weak in other areas. I think Llorente being back for them is big from a defensive standpoint. But yeah, I think Saints are a bit underrated generally. And I think their performances don't reflect their point total doesn't reflect how good their performances have been. So yeah, I'm thinking a Southampton home win here.
Nice.
There you are.
Okay. So play Rafinha just in case, and obviously, are you thinking of starting your Livramentos?
Yeah, Livy's starting for me. I mean, defensively aside, his attacking play is brilliant so far. An assist against Chelsea this week. He loves getting into that box. He's looking to be the Dallas and the Lundstrom of this year. I think he's pushing for that legendary status.
Lovely. I think this one's back to you now. So our beloved Brentford at home to Chelsea.
Yeah, really tricky. It is a tricky one to call. They've been making mincemeat of their London rivals so far, Brentford. But Chelsea, the European champions, I can't look past that Chelsea win. It wouldn't surprise me to see Brentford score at all, but I think this will be a bridge too far for them. And I'd go, yeah, a 2-1 or a 3-1 Chelsea win here with Lukaku to do something. So I don't think Lukaku's the best captain this week at all, though, I would say. But it would surprise me to see him do another blank here. What do you think?
I think Brentford are going to be stubborn, but Chelsea are just that good. So I think a Chelsea win, as you said, I wouldn't be surprised if there's not many goals in it, like a 1-0 or a 2-1. I do think Brentford are going to give them a run for their money. They'll know that they've been in a game, but Chelsea top of the table, it's quality all over the pitch. It's got a, I think an away win for Chelsea. Play your Brentford assets.
I think you always play them. Always play them. We don't know enough about them to say that they're, not going to do really well, do we? I'm thinking of getting a Mbeumo in, really. If they win this, then we need to really start really talking about them, don't we?
Like double, triple up levels.
Yeah, seriously, for the price they are. So definitely play your Brentford assets. Yeah, don't be this. I'd view this as like a free swing for them almost, and something can happen here. It's not like Norwich playing Chelsea, is it? It's anything can happen with the bees. Moving on to Sunday's fixtures, Josh. Oh, a bit of a doozy this one. Everton, West Ham. Two ambitious teams. What are you thinking?
Yeah, similar profiles, I'd say. I think Rafa is doing well at Everton. They haven't had DCL, but they're still chugging along, really. I think it's going to be
great signings.
Yeah. The new boys are doing well for them. Great result this week as well. I think at home, with the wind in their sails a little bit recently, I think Everton are gonna beat West Ham, I'd say, which may surprise some people. I just have that feeling. I think West Ham, as you said, maybe it's the introduction of the European games a little bit. They're looking a bit leggy, maybe wavering a little bit. Maybe suddenly that form has just drained out of them a little bit. But I think Everton are on the up and up.
Yeah, really tough one to call this. Really tough one to call because I can see Everton should have beaten Man United the other day. They should have. That Mina offside. I think what's his face should have just shot. Davis should have just shot there.
What's he doing?
Yeah, and they've, as you say, Benitez done really well. New signings looking great. Decore's looking like a new player, but they have it in them to fuck it up. I think again in this type of fixture. And I think West Ham are still pretty good. I think they're still pretty good. And they'll be disappointed after that Brentford loss. So, although this is 2 weeks away, isn't it? But I'd go for a narrow West Ham win, I think, here. But any result wouldn't surprise me. Any narrow result wouldn't surprise me. But yeah, play assets in both.
Yeah, could swing either way, couldn't it, really?
No doubt. No doubt.
So Newcastle with the beloved ASM, which none of us own, against Spurs.
Yeah, obviously Spurs, great result against the Villa the other day. They looked much better than they had done, disappointingly for me. They look great. Son just ran the show. I mean, I don't think we've mentioned Son yet today, but he's someone definitely I'm now looking at. He was just phenomenal. Even though Kane wasn't firing, Son didn't need him. He just made everything tick, ran our defense ragged, and I think inspired the rest of the team to do something. So yeah, they still didn't look amazing defensively. We still had spells where we should have probably scored a couple, but that win will do wonders for them. And Newcastle are just looking like they're in the mud from a team morale level. And poor old ASM, there's only so much he can do with that dross around him. I think it's a Spurs win here. A 1-0, 2-0 Spurs win. What do you think?
Yeah, I would be wary of the Newcastle at home, who are a slightly different beast because of the support that they have. But I still think that that's not enough of a kind of boost to beat the Spurs team that seem to be using their great assets in a better way now. So I'm with you. I think Spurs are going to use this as a platform to get another win and continue to kind of build some form.
Yeah, again, interesting, the XG stats. Newcastle actually have a higher XG away from home so far than they do at home. But again, it's a small sample in it so far, and they've presumably played one more game away than they have home. So we've only played 7 games. So I wonder if that's the case. Yeah, they've played 4 away games. So yeah, that's obviously skewing that. Ignore me. Ignore all of that. Yeah, Newcastle, not great. Not great at all. The final game, Josh, moving on to the final game. It's Arsenal against Palace. Interesting one on the Monday.
Yeah, I really can't call this because I thought Arsenal were turning that form around. And on my wild card, I was, looking at Emil Smith Rowe and Saka, and I did bring in Ramsdale defense. But the game against Brighton, and like we're saying, Brighton are very good, and I think we need to recognise that. But I think Arsenal got away with one to get a draw there, and they didn't look very, very good. I think Brighton's XG was 1.12, Arsenal's 0.36. So I don't think they're quite the team that people are describing them as, saying bring in all these assets. So, and Palace are looking very good as well. So I could see a draw, maybe even leaning towards a Palace win.
Wow.
But I'm gonna say a draw just to be safe, because Arsenal could revitalise that form that they've shown in 3 games prior to this weekend just passed. So I'm gonna go draw.
Interesting. Yeah, I agree with you in that I don't think Arsenal are suddenly a great team and everything's fine again, as seemed to be the case after that Spurs win, didn't it? Suddenly, Arteta's great. Never mind those first 3 shambolic games. But you're right, against Brighton, they weren't the better team there. And Palace are just really tough to call, aren't they? I think under Vieira, they're not. I don't know I haven't figured them out yet, really, in terms of how good they are. Definitely a lot more expressive and attacking. It's just whether they've got the individuals to keep going. So, yeah, I'm going to go Arsenal win, seeing as it's at home. But I think
begrudgingly,
it's a really tentative one. I don't know what will happen there. Wouldn't surprise me if Palace pulled something out the bag. So yeah, I'll go 1-0 Arsenal, but not confident. Don't gamble on these predictions, people. We
play
have
your
no
Gallagher's
responsibility. Yeah, I think play your Gallagher's, and yeah, a few people got Edouard in, haven't they? And there's a few Zahars knocking about. I mean, Arsenal's defense still isn't that great. Ramsdale does make a difference, though. I think he does. He's a good signing in the end, or is proving to be. So there we are. That's our predictions, Josh. Well predicted from you.
and you.
Time will tell. Feels a bit weird doing it 2 weeks in advance, but here we are.
It's a long way from that game week.
Could all change. Yeah, could all change. Be interesting to see what the internationals do to these players. And did you know it was the National League finals? I didn't know that. Did you?
No,
it's like the final of the National League is here. I don't really know who's in it, but
exactly.
The finals are happening.
Do we even know? Who does anyone care?
I don't. Definitely don't care. They're just friendlies wrapped up in nicer wrapping, aren't they? I suppose.
Exactly.
So there we are. But
bring back the FPL. Bring back Premier League. Come on.
Yeah.
But yeah, predictions done. Let's take another quick break, and then we're going to come back for the final section where we're going to cover 2 of our last segments, our plans and algos.
Cool.
And we are back. So final section, Jack. We're going to go on to our plans first, our transfers and who we want to captain. Then we're going to look at the algo teams. So kick us off. What are you think? It's a long way, obviously, the game week 8. We appreciate that. But what are you thinking at this stage?
At this stage, bus team. So my bus team set up. So that's if I get hit by a bus, this is the team that will play. I've benched my Wolves boys. So Cody and Traore are benched. I'm playing the 4-3-3. And this is, as you say, 2 weeks, a lot of assumptions. I'm assuming Trent will be back. So he's in the side. And I've got Rafinha, Jota, Salah in midfield, and Antonio, Lukaku, and Dennis up front. So this is Busland. I'm going to wait and see how the international games play out. But I'm torn, Josh, between, do I get Dennis out playing Liverpool? He's got 2 matches, 2 points total. Get him out for a Jimenez, say, or do I finally get rid of the thorn in my side that's Adama Traore? Got rid of Torres last week for Rafinha. Haven't looked back. Feels great. At that time, the other killer for me was Adama Traore. He did it again to me this week. Came on in the 93rd minute of all things for a 1-pointer, blocking Livramento's 4-pointer. So very unhappy with him. He might go for an Mbeumo, for instance, or I could upgrade him to a Son Heung-min, who's found himself being a bit of a differential now, Son. But that performance against Villa was so good that he might go there. So those are the three moves I'm sort of tinkering with. Do I go for Jimenez, or do I get Son or an Mbeumo for a Traore? What do you think of those moves, and which would you do?
Without going into too much, when you're reading them out, the one that stuck with me was the Mbeumo, because of their fixtures after this Chelsea fixture. So I wouldn't like the look of a Brentford double up against Chelsea.
No.
But I do like the look of a Brentford double up for like the next 4 or 5 game weeks after this Chelsea fixture.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I said Dennis to Jimenez. What about a Dennis to a Tony? Do you think that would be better than a Traore to a Mbeumo?
Again, I am where I know you said play the Brentford assets, but I'm wary of bringing them in for this game week when you look at who you could be starting. And if you've got a good enough team that you like, you're bringing in an asset that you have doubts about for this week. You could just roll the transfer.
I mean, it's Dennis against Liverpool, Josh, or Tony against Chelsea. So I think I'd rather have Tony there. Dennis is doing nothing for me. I hate him. He's going. I think he's going.
In that case, if he, I mean, you could play one of your Wolves assets, right? That you've got when you look at your bench. I know you don't want to against Villa. Am I right in saying that you've got a Wolves defender? You could play him
Cody's there. I might play Cody against Villa. Yeah, I mean, Traore's not getting played ever again in life. He's third on the bench now. He just can't be risked. He cannot be for those terrible 1-pointers. Sissoko's higher in the pecking order. So it's, But anyway, those are the things that are in my mind. It's a wait and see. You never know what'll happen. Other things happen, don't they, over the international break? Jota does remain a worry, though. I don't think we're very far away from a Firmino start.
Yeah.
But a captaincy firmly on Salah, I cannot see that changing. So that's that. Beautiful. Talk to me about your team, man.
Yeah, bus team, Ramsdale, and then a double Chelsea, double City.
Ooh.
So would look to start Alonso.
You're going with Alonso again, yeah.
But I'm closer to the game week. I may, if there's other news, I may not, because I'm a bit worried about obviously him coming off the bench and scuppering any other points that could swap in for a Livramento and leave Alonso as the first bench spot.
Tricky.
Then 3 midfield, Salah captain, as you said. If stick to what you know, Captain Mo, Ben Rama, then Rafinha, and then I am starting Tony, and then got Antonio and Lukaku as well. So that leaves the benches: first spot Livramento, second spot Douglas Luiz, and third spot Sarr.
Sarr benched.
Third spot for me. I mean, I know he's the biggest threat, but I just think I just really concerned about Watford. Maybe overthinking that he should be above Douglas Luiz, but I've got a bit more confidence in Livramento coming up points this week over Sarr. So
yeah, I mean, don't put Douglas Luiz ahead of him as a Villa fan. He'll do nothing for you. He won't do anything. Put Sarr ahead of him, defo.
He's pure enabler, Douglas Luiz. But that's it really. So the only points of contention with that Alonso thing, and does he start? Should Livramento start above him? Really?
Yeah, fair. Any early transfer musings?
I'm going to hold. I think there's nothing. The only fire is the Alonso one, but I've got 3 starters in my bench players. I can afford to hold and have more maneuverability next week, potentially for using those 2 to get someone like a Trent back.
I was going to say, you've got 1.2 in the bank, haven't you? Have you got money in the bank?
Yeah, I got a 1.2, but it's not enough to get directly there.
Oh, is it not from Alonso? No.
But there's a lot can change in a game week, especially after the international break. So when I've got 2 the following week, that allows me to make a lot of moves after that if I need them.
True. Very wise, Josh. Very wise.
We'll see if it works, basically.
Yeah. All right. Well, obviously things are subject to change especially in the international break. but that's where we are now.
Good disclaimer. Next, though, Jack,
Yeah.
algo teams. Come on.
Yes.
You foreshadowed differentials. I always back the XG boys, but
The XG boys have been, early on in the season, the XG boys were doing well, but in recent times, Differential United has come up. So very quickly, we also manage two different teams for two of our friends that we've imposed algorithms on. So we've got Differential United, who's composed entirely of players that are under 5% owned, and the XG11, where decisions are made purely on XG data. So, as we know, this week, a horror show for most flesh managers, people managers, but a bit of a success for our algorithm teams. So, we'll start with XG11, 48 points for the XG11. So, beat us both, Josh. And now they've gone above me. My actual live flesh team is now losing to a robot.
Yeah.
Which is nice. And the thing, they were having an awful week until that Liverpool game. So we've talked about the XG heavily. Mane was captain with Salah as well. So 14 points for Mane, 13 for Salah. Tarkowski got a 5-pointer and then blanks everywhere else. But yeah, 48 points for the XG11. Really solid stuff for them. Now, going by the XG gods that this team has to do, Lukaku is still in this team, but as we know, has dropped out of the XG charts. Vardy is very much in there. Ronaldo is in there. We can't afford Ronaldo. So I think a Lukaku to Vardy move is what's going to happen for these guys. So interesting. So this is where the algorithm butts heads against real life judgment, and we'll see what pays off if we obey the XG laws.
That's the kind of cyber balls move that I expect from the XG team.
Exactly. Same here. I want to see that kind of robot craziness happen more. So that's good to see. So that was the XG11. Moving on, though, to a 51k game week rank for the Differential United. 66 points.
Jesus.
Came in for the Differential boys. They had just the two blankers in Fornals and Aubameyang. Oh no, and St. Max, sorry, 3 blankers. But Meslier, 6 points. Veltman, 5. Max Aarons coming on for an Alonso for 5 points. Chalobah, third on the bench, 11 points. Lowton got 5 points. Mane got 7 points. Jared Bowen, 7-pointer. Should have had more as well, I should add. Decore was the substitute last week. He's under 5% owned still, came in, got the assist, 5 points.
Unbelievable.
St. Max Aubameyang mentioned, but the captain, Jimenez, 20 points. Jeez. So 66 points. Really brings he had a shocking start to the season, old Differential man, but brings him up to 329. He was 6.5 mil in the world. He's now 4.9 mil. So onwards and upwards for Differential United. So yeah, really good. And after that, I think he'll probably roll the transfer after that success. So
he's loving life.
He's loving it. Yeah. So really interesting. So I think that does show how bad this week was. Generally, when a differential team does well, it means that it's likely that the template picks haven't done so well.
Strange week.
Very odd week, but we'll see. It'll be interesting. What I'm really interested to see is how these players, because a lot of these players now are over 5% owned, but this team brought them in when they were differentials. So I'm sure Jimenez, Mane, and Decore will soon be over 5% owned. But of course, we brought them in at 5 so they can stay in. So it'll be fascinating to see. And same with Alonso. So there we are.
Shows the trends. I mean, XG destroying it up until this point. Last 2 game weeks, differential pipping it. I mean, that just paints the picture of the last 2 game weeks, isn't it?
It does indeed, man. Let's see what happens going forward.
Boom. Great to hear the updates of the algos. Always like to hear it. And yeah, international break now. Give it a little rest yourselves, breathe deep.
Yeah, go outside. Outside, have a little, spend time with your friends and family. Don't bother watching the international nonsense. No one enjoys that.
There we go. Join us after game week 8.
Yeah, that's right. We'll have a break, Josh, won't we? I think so. We'll have a little international break ourselves, we should say. We'll probably pepper some YouTube videos throughout the week, some little snippets. So enjoy them. Please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Please.
If you're watching this now, just a little like, click is good, a little sub. And yeah, cheers. Been a pleasure.
Cheers. See you next time.
Cheers. Bye-bye now.
Bye bye.